kākou e nā hoa makamaka mai ka la hiki a ka lākau. Velina nui me ke aloha. I'm Kuali'i Puni Kuali'i. I'm a specialty faculty here at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, focusing on Native Hawaiian affairs. Welcome to the third installment of the Kuali'i Council series on Native Hawaiian programs here at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. We know that the university is really committed to this idea of a Native Hawaiian place of learning and Indigenous serving institution now. And so as we think about the work that Kuali'i Council has done, one of the longest standing collective bodies of Native Hawaiian programs and faculty members across the campus, we really think about this idea of how can we celebrate the work that Kuali'i Council has done, the partners within Kuali'i Council. And so today we welcome all of you to this show. And I'd like to introduce have my co-host introduce herself right now, that will be leading this program with me.
Okay. Aloha kākou.
Aloha.
My name is Nānākuli, and I'm the director of two social justice programs. One is Ike Aupono at the School of Nursing, and the other one is the Native Hawaiian Health Initiative. And we work with the College of Health Sciences and Social Welfare, which a lot of our guests today are also part of. We're so thrilled to have you here because the School of Medicine and the Department of Native Hawaiian Health are the leaders and have created so many models in the community and in research, and we're really happy to have you here to tell your story. So first of all, I want to introduce Dr. Keawe Kaholokula, and you're the professor and chair of the Department of Native Hawaiian Health. And then we have Dr. Winona Lee, who is director of Imiho'ola, the post-baccalaureate program, and the principal investigator of the Native Hawaiian Center of Excellence. And we also have with us today Dr. Mele Look. And Mele, are you going to introduce Mele?
No, go ahead.
And Mele, can you tell us a little bit about your directorship and your program?
So I'm the Director of Community Engagement for the Department of Native Hawaiian Health, which is somewhat unusual to have that position in the department, but we feel, and we'll be talking through the program, how all of what we do in our department connects back to the community.
Okay, great. Okay, to begin with, I'd like to ask, I'm just going to call you Keawe because we're like Ohana, and Keawe, could you begin by telling us about how the Department of Native Hawaiian Health was established and what your focus is?
Sure. Well, first of all, mahalo to both of you, Nālani, Punihe, for having us. The Department of Native Hawaiian Health will celebrate its 13th year as a department within our medical school, Johnny Burns School of Medicine. It's one of the clinical departments, much like medicine, pediatrics. Let me first start by sharing the mission of the department. It's really to be a center of excellence in medical education, research, community engagement, clinical services, targeting or aimed at improving the health and well-being of Native Hawaiians of Kanaka Uiwi, their families and communities. And in the process, we actually end up doing the same for many of our underserved populations, other Pacific Islanders, for example, to include Filipinos. So in that regards, we are more than just that, Department of Native Hawaiian Health. However, our main focus is our Native Hawaiians. And we're broken up into several divisions like most academic units are. Within our department, we have medical education. You'll hear from Dr. Winnie Lee more about our programs around that. We have a strong research division as well. We also have a division for clinical services and teaching. And we also, as Mele referred to, I hate to call it a division because it really is a core that transcends all the divisions and is the foundation, which is community engagement. And with that, the department was created really because of the health inequities experienced by Native Hawaiians, as well as other Pacific Islanders. But with Native Hawaiians, as we all know, we have the highest rates of most chronic diseases, including diabetes and cardiovascular disease.
Yeah, I have a slide for that right here that you put together.
Yeah. With this slide that you see up here, it's really looking at the major ethnic groups, or the largest ethnic groups here in Hawaii. We have Native Hawaiians, the white bar there, going down. We have Filipinos, Japanese, Caucasians, and the rest of the state. And what you'll see for most of these selected health behaviors or chronic diseases is that Native Hawaiians really have it the worst. We have more prevalence, more people are living with these. Also, we know that we also get these diseases at a much younger age than other groups, 10 years younger. And as so, we also die 10 years younger. Our longevity is a whole decade shorter than other ethnic groups here in Hawaii, in our own homeland. And so we really want to begin to address this. The other slide that we have coming up soon is looking at the major causes of death, the leading causes of death. It's similar for all ethnic groups, but as you can see from this, with Native Hawaiians, we far, unfortunately, outnumber them in these areas. So it's a real big issue for us. But there is, some good news that we're looking at and we want to really leverage at the department, and that is that our Native Hawaiian population actually increasing. We know that when Cook arrived in 1778, the population was believed to be about 700 to 800,000. And then by the overthrow of our kingdom in 1893, it dwindled down to roughly 35,000. And for the first time, we're outnumbered by foreigners, which were everyone else other than Hawaiians. And they were roughly 45,000. The good news is we have regained our numbers, and it's estimated that by 2050, 2060, we'll double. Really double in our population size. And part of that really is because we'll continue to have large families because of the value of keiki and ohana, while other ethnic groups are having smaller families. And also our kupuna will be living longer. Unfortunately though, there'll still probably be a gap in longevity between our kupuna and those of others.
Yeah, and we see that in this slide that's positioned here right now, that growth. Yeah.
Yeah, but you see the brown area, the light brown area is really Hawaii, and the blue area is, it accounts for Hawaii and the continent.
I see.
So we're really looking forward to this. And the next slide really shows where our focus lies in Native Hawaiian health. Traditionally, we look at the biological and behavioral determinants of health, biology, genetics, and behaviors. But we really want to go upstream as well because we know that operates in a larger context of family, communities, a whole political system. And what you see up here is really how many of us are really envisioning this process of looking at it from a more holistic standpoint. And to really go upstream and address, prevent these diseases rather than simply treat these diseases. By the time it gets into our clinics, whether that's with a physician, psychologist, or social worker, it usually is already a problem.
Right.
And many times it's something that's treated but not really eliminated or cured.
Right.
And so we really want to prevent those coming downstream, right?
Yes.
So that's kind of the goal. And we do account that there's political forces, there's social forces, good or bad, that work either for or against us in our health and well-being. And we have to account for that in understanding how to improve the health of Native Hawaiians. And that's kind of our department, and kind of our focus in a nutshell.
And you're kind of known for making presentations on how important social determinants of health are in the treatment of our people, and even in us becoming more self-aware as to how we can better our health and improve health for future generations.
Right. Social and cultural determinants. I think
Absolutely.
culture, our ability to practice our culture on our own terms without discrimination, to eliminate those stressors on us, and our ability to live up to our, aspire to what we as a people choose to aspire to. And it's very important because that does have an effect on our health and well-being.
Mahalo. Yeah, I know as the director of 2 programs myself at the University in Health, part of our whole look at cultural self-determinants and self-determination. And I know, Weni, Dr. Lee, that you've been working on increasing the number of Native Hawaiian physicians. So I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about your program and some of the achievements and some of the goals that you have.
Yes, so in the Department of Native Hawaiian Health, I lead the Medical Education Division, and the focus of our initiatives are really to improve the health of Native Hawaiians by increasing the number of Native Hawaiians who are successful in medicine and other health professions. Currently, we are severely underrepresented, so in terms of the Hawaii physician workforce, Native Hawaiians only make up 3.7% of the workforce. And there is a big disparity. As the general population, we make up 26% of it. And so our goal is to develop our program so that we can support success of our students. As you can see in the first slide, one of our key initiatives is the Native Hawaiian Center of Excellence. This program has been in existence for 25 years, and its mission is to promote the health of Native Hawaiians through education, research, and community partnerships. Our major goals are to support students as well as faculty in health careers. We also provide cultural competency training as well as clinical training so that we can better serve our Native Hawaiian communities. And we also conduct medical education and health disparities research and provide that information to our students, their families, and our communities. And so the Native Hawaiian Center of Excellence has a few key programs in this area to promote student success. And in the next slide, I have the Exploring Health Professions. So it's really working with students from across the state, across the educational pipeline. So we have K through 12 as well as college, where we show students that a career in medicine is possible. I think it's important for students to see Native Hawaiians who are physicians, who are nurses, who are health professionals, so that they can aspire to do the same. So each year we reach over 1,200 students, and our work is really to give them the opportunity to explore what's possible. And another program that we have, the Native Hawaiian Center of Excellence, is an exciting partnership with Nānākuli High and Intermediate School. This is a partnership as well as with Kamehameha Schools. We're in our 4th year of this partnership, and it's really our purpose with that community is to grow our own healers and to ensure the success of our students in Nānākuli. This is a slide that shows our annual health fair. So we actually were able to do the very first health fair for the school 3 years ago. And so this month we'll have the annual health fair later, April 26th. So it's an exciting way for us to reach out and in partnership with our community, because our schools do know what their students need.
Right.
And for us, we can provide additional resources that may not necessarily be in their reach.
What I think has been important about this effort that Winnie and the Center of Excellence have started is that after many years, they decided that they have to reach at a younger age.
Yeah.
Because many, when they talk about pre-med, they're thinking undergraduate, but we have found that the success of them in medical school or getting into medical school really has to start at a much younger age.
Yeah, planting that seed very early on.
And preparing them.
Absolutely, yeah, right. And getting the math and sciences that they need early on,
Exactly.
so that when they get to the undergrad level, they're
prepared.
They can actually succeed in those
Yes.
those classes for pre-med. Absolutely.
Yes, thank you.
And just to summarize a little bit of what we've spoken about in terms of the College of Health Sciences and Social Welfare, we're all trying to increase the numbers of Native Hawaiian health professionals who will work in the communities and will improve not only their own health and the health of their families, but be the representatives of health and wellness as well as treatment and diagnosis and other aspects of medicine. So now we have over 300 physicians, we have over 300 nurses. We're working to build the numbers of social workers and public health workers and researchers and people in law who can help make policy, people at Hawaii Nui Akea who can work in the cultural side. So like Kathy was saying, we have to prepare for a doubling population. We don't want to be at the bottom of all of these disparities.
Yeah. Yeah, Winnie, you also do different pathways to medicine for Native Hawaiian students. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So as Melly said, we have to start early. And then our focus is also on those students that are getting ready for a career in medicine. So we developed this program. It's actually the first of its kind, where in 2010, we started mentoring these students, Native Hawaiian students who are interested, pre-medical students. And what we decided to do is offer 6-month workshop series in small cohorts to develop their ability to learn about the admissions process for medicine, but I think more importantly to develop more cultural empowerment for themselves as Native Hawaiians, and also to develop a support network for themselves as a group. So we found that the students really benefit from the knowledge we share, but more importantly, they benefit from having that support from their faculty advisors and also from their peers. And so we're very excited to say that of the students that have been through the program, so we've had 84 students so far participate in pathways, 26% of them have been admitted to medical school. And we do, across the nation, we do think that more students will be getting in, because of that 84, not all of them were prepared or ready in terms of their training to apply. And so we're very excited to see some of those numbers increasing. And we do think as more Native Hawaiians get into medicine, they can be mentors for those who are up and coming.
Absolutely. Yeah, exciting. And you're a very busy lady because you also run another program.
Yeah, so I have a wonderful team. So my other program that I oversee is the Imi Ho'ola Post-Baccalaureate Program. Imi Ho'ola means those who seek to heal. And it's really been a legacy of Dr. Benjamin Young and Dr. Nanette Judd, who have been my mentors, who started the program more than 40 years ago. And its mission is to improve the healthcare in Hawaii and the Pacific. And it's really to give educational opportunities to students from disadvantaged backgrounds. We found that many of our Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander students demonstrate that they've had challenges, but if given the right resources, they can succeed. And so students in our program, once they complete our coursework, they actually have a seat in the first year medical school class the following year. So it's very exciting to see. In this photo, this is a picture of our students and faculty. One of the highlights of the program is an annual trip to Kalaupapa, where the students learn about the patients with Hansen's disease and have a chance to do service in the community. And it's definitely part of the way that we teach in the curriculum. In the next slide, talk a little bit about the curriculum. We don't just focus on basic sciences or the humanities, but we also help them to become better learners, critical thinkers and communicators. A lot of it is to help the students acculturate to medicine and the expectations, because they definitely come with the heart of service. It's just learning what may be needed so that they're successful in medical school.
Having this next slide, if you want to talk a little bit about the contributions Native Hawaiians have made.
So definitely for Imi Ho'ola, it has spanned 40 years. And what this slide shows is that it's really contributed to Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander diversity at JABSOM. So between 1978 and 2015, looking at the slide, nearly 40% of the Hawaiians who graduated from JABSOM actually accessed medical school through Imi Ho'ola. So Imi Ho'ola is a very important pipeline for our Native Hawaiian students, as well as our Pacific Islander. As you can see, for Samoan students, 82% of the Samoan students who came through JABSOM actually came through our program. And so I think both Imi Ho'ola as well as Native Hawaiian Center of Excellence together are very important initiatives to increase our students in medicine.
Absolutely, we really thank you and the department for the work you folks do. I've had friends who have gone through Imi, and they just say and physicians, and they just say it's made all the difference. It was the thing that allowed them to totally feel confident and know they could succeed in medical school. And I know you guys are tough. It's not an easy breezy here.
It's not.
So, but I mean, necessarily so, but also very nurturing.
We call it boot camp.
There you go.
They have to make it through boot camp.
It's not that bad. We don't discourage people from applying.
No, but it's
trains
that's
you.
right. In a nurturing environment,
A
really
nurturing
prepare
environment.
them for what they're going to have to face in medical school.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is just amazing. Mahalo for that. And so we talked about medical education, but also research as a core component of the Department of Native Hawaiian Health. And I think it's so important, the work that the research team does, because we know that if we're not asking the questions about our own people and using our own frameworks and worldviews even, other folks might not be doing the research we know is needed. And so I think it's exciting to think about research because it's creating a field where we can really learn and understand what are not only the needs of our community, but the assets in health in our communities, but also the fact that you folks are producing researchers, right? Which is really, really exciting, really growing your own. And so, Calvin, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the research unit and some of the strategies you folks are using to do this, to do the work you do.
Mahalo, research is so important because we need to identify real world solutions, viable solutions
Absolutely.
on our own terms. So we have to ask the right questions, the right methodologies, and apply them in the right way. And that really, we need to have our Native Hawaiians involved in that process.
Absolutely.
If we're going to address our Native Hawaiian health. So we have a number of research initiatives in the department, one being the Center of Native and Pacific Health Disparities Research, headed up by Dr. Marjorie Mao. And they right now help to also develop young investigators that are interested in addressing Native Hawaiian health. They do a number of studies looking at diabetes. How do we better get a handle of that and help people to avoid diabetes,
Right.
as well as other diseases such as stroke. We also have a number of other initiatives going on. One is the Pili Ohana project.
slide
and
of that
I think we have
here.
a slide of that, and it shows some of our community leaders that are actually co-investigators. And it really speaks to the philosophy we have in our department around community-based participatory research.
Right.
And that we really need our communities involved, not just as participants or subjects of the research, but as co-investigators, helping us to, identify the research questions of interest, how to go about understanding that, how to understand the findings. So they participate in all aspects. In fact, all of our research in the Pili Ohana project is done right there in the communities by their own people. And some of their leaders you can see up here. We have Dr. Claire Hughes from Hawaii Maoli, represents the Association for Hawaiian Civic Clubs. We have Ms. Punike Kaoa from Papakolea community, Adrian Dillard along with her from that community. We have Dana Palakiko from Keolomamo Native Hawaiian Healthcare System. We have Shore Yoshimura from Kuali'i Valley. So, and their staff up there as well as the staff from the department. So this initiative, Pili Ohana, has been around for 11 years, fully funded, federally funded, as well as funded by Office of Hawaiian Affairs, HMSA Foundation for various aspects. And the whole goal was to address the issues of momona, too much weight, too much excess weight. The reason the excess weight is concerning is that it's the highest risk factor for diabetes and contributes to heart disease. Two biggest factors or killers of our people. And if we can get a handle on that, and when Captain Cook came upon these islands, one thing they was so impressed by was the health, the physique, the physical health and mental and social health of Native Hawaiians. And they wrote extensively about our people, how quick and nimble they were, how agile. They were talking about the average Kanaka.
Right.
Right? And how friendly and hospitable. Quite opposite from what the missionaries made us believe later on about how we were, they were waiting to be sacrificed to Pele. Quite different.
Yeah.
Captain Cook came across a very healthy, vibrant, robust, as Dr. Kekuni Blaisdell for decades have been sharing with everyone, and he was correct. And so we're aspiring to return to that Mauliola, that optimal health and well-being. And so Pili Ohana is really looking at lifestyle interventions, community-based, culturally relevant. We've been able to develop the first evidence-based lifestyle intervention for Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders. Also, we've been able to develop an evidence-based diabetes self-management program that's been shown to be very effective. In fact, a number of Queens Hospital is also using, or Queens Medical Center, Punchbowl, as well as West Oahu is using our curriculum. So it's getting out there, and it's thanks to the work of our community partners over the last 11 years. The other slide up there, and then I'm going to let Mele talk more about that under community engagement, is what was really, Mele was really one of the person behind this that moved us in this direction because of her passion for hula. But Oloho Ika hula, as Mele will talk more about, really is using our own cultural practices, our own cultural activities, values, perspectives in addressing our own health. And Mele will share how effective it was in addressing hypertension, high blood pressure. But what I want to focus on for the remainder of my talk really is overlapping what Winnie was sharing, or Dr. Lee, is about growing our own.
Yeah.
And as we do that to become physicians, we also need our own scientists and researchers.
Absolutely.
And we have, in partnership with other universities, we've been very fortunate to have been able to give this opportunity to our undergraduates here at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. One of the programs is the Mahina program.
Okay.
And the Mahina is a international research. I think we have a slide for this one with our students. It's an international Indigenous research training program. We select 3 undergraduates and 1 graduate student every year. They're joined with 3 undergraduates and a graduate student from University of Washington. Most of them are Pacific Islanders or American Indians, Alaska Natives. And then they have an experience for about 8 weeks in Aotearoa, New Zealand, with our partners at the University of Auckland. Dr. Karina Walters is a partner at the University of Washington. Dr. Paparangi Reed is our partner at the University of Auckland. And the goal with this program is really, we have very little of our own Pacific Islanders, Native Hawaiians in health research at a national level.
Right.
And again, it's very important we grow our own to begin to address the issues that are relevant to us. And so it's an opportunity to start, as Melia had pointed out, really starting young.
Yeah.
Getting them really interested and passionate. And what's unique about this, although there's several universities across the U.S. supported through a funding from the National Institutes of Minority Health and Health Disparities of the National Institutes of Health, this one's unique and is focusing on Indigenous research. And so in addition to your typical science methodology courses,
Right.
they're getting exposure to Indigenous methodologies, social and cultural determinants of health, how to work with our communities, cultural protocols, and they go to Aotearoa to put this in practice. And the other program that we have is really a partnership with Portland State University, and it's the Build Exito program. And this is also funded through the National Institutes of Health, and 10 universities across the U.S. was funded, and the Portland State University included us and wanted to include Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islanders. So there's a number of partners outside of Oregon that are participating. And what this will allow us to do is select 10 students every year, starting in their freshman year, and give them a real opportunity to develop an interest and the skills necessary for career in research. And we hope that after they're done with their undergraduate, that many of them would choose a graduate or professional school to continue their work, to get their masters, to get their doctorates, or get their MDs, and that eventually they would choose a career in research. We're also similar to Mahina. We introduced them, at least in our cohort here in Hawaii, to Indigenous research, social and cultural determinants, as well as we have a lot of students interested in biology and other things, so we give them the opportunity as well. So it's a diverse group. We have students from nursing, social work, psychology, pre-med, who participate, and some of their pictures I know was shown earlier.
Super exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like opportunity that, 15 years ago
Wasn't around,
didn't exist.
yeah.
We think about it's going to be, these young people that we're just planting these seeds now, they're going to just do such amazing work. Like on our babies, they're going to
Exactly.
be the people that really shape the environment for our babies. Thank you so much for that work. It's amazing. Yeah.
So Mele, we're all waiting to hear more about your work because as we've all been talking about and Kuali'i highlighted, community engagement and the self-identity in communities with people taking ownership over their own health and well-being and moving all of these social determinants towards the positive outcomes is part of your work. So can you tell us some highlights and achievements?
So when the department first was established, we developed a community coalition that we named the Ulu Network. And I think there's a slide of the map of the Ulu Network. And so it was a way to bring together all the community organizations, and we focused initially on those health organizations serving Native Hawaiians and Pacific people. And it started with 19, now we have 30 with over 70 sites across the state. It was a way to connect us to them, and we would provide what they wanted in training, in health training and medical training, and they also joined with us in collaboration in starting community programs, health initiatives within their communities that they felt were important to their communities. And now that the department has ho'oulu and has grown so much, we are using the network to disseminate, to move out all the findings that we have through our research studies and materials that we've developed into the communities in a much more faster way. And so one of the programs we started to talk about is, which is close to my heart, is the Oloho Ika Hula program, the Return to Health Through Hula, because it brought together what you mentioned is the strength of our people, one of our cultural practices that are strongest and known worldwide.
Absolutely.
And it really was at this stage of my career and stage of the department that it all came together. And I think it highlights what we started talking about at the beginning of the program is the uniqueness of the department to take this cultural practice and all the wisdom with it.
And we have a slide here
Yeah.
of that. Yeah.
All the wisdom of the cultural practice with all the knowledge of the scientific practice.
Absolutely.
And those both have important protocols. And it takes some skill of negotiating to bring them together, but when you do, you have the power of both. And we have, was the first biomedical study looking at hula. And so we did everything from energy expenditure evaluations of hula and found out that hula is as simple, our beginner hula is like a fast ballroom dancing and goes all the way up to a pickup basketball game. And the competitive dancing, you would see it like a Merry Monarch competition, which was what we consider as that rigorous level of energy exertion, was moving into a competitive basketball game or a competitive tennis game.
Wow.
So those effortless dancers are actually putting out great amounts of energy.
I need to dance hula every day instead of only once a week.
Exactly. See, so you're a natural researcher because that's what we understood. So now, how do we apply it to the diseases of our people?
Right.
And so, hypertension, high blood pressure is one of those diseases that is 70% higher among Hawaiians than the white population. So we worked with Kumu Hula, and particularly my Kumu, Mapuana de Silva from Halau Mohala'i Lima.
She's in that photo there.
Yes. Yeah. So she led some of the classes and helped us really design an intervention, which is ultimately hula twice a week. And the dancers who may have or may have not danced for quite a while move from 5-10 minutes in the first week, and then by the 12th week are dancing 30 to 40 minutes straight.
Nice.
And that's the key, is the straight dancing. So it's very much like halau hula training, where the words are the most important, and you are learning all the cultural nuances through the stories and the history that comes along with it. And we teach awana and kahiko. But we found through the studies that people with hypertension were dropping their blood pressure 20 points by the end of our 12-week program.
That's fantastic.
But we also found, and that's why we continue our study, is that just like medicine, you stop dancing,
That's right.
your blood pressure goes back up. So we're building in more things in making the program longer to keep that improvement going. So it's very exciting with scientists like Ke'ave, as well as what we really believe is that the community's knowledge, the Kumu's knowledge, bringing it all together to make this possible. So we've trained about, I would say, more than a dozen Kumu from around the state. And so while we're moving ahead and implementing it as a research study that's continuing, we also have seeded it in communities and in halau throughout the state, so it has a life of its own.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And it shows how cultural practitioners have a role in helping
Absolutely.
Provide health and put back the components of health within each of our communities. So it's going to take all of us to recover from this.
What was also interesting, Millie, is not only did it improve the blood pressure, it seems to improve their factors related to cultural identity and so forth,
Right.
and actually strengthens
Right.
and supports that aspect. And what we also found was that the social support, as social support or functioning improved, it also is associated with improvements in blood pressure. So in addition to the physical activity that hula provides, there's that cultural component that is affecting us somehow. Maybe that's true, reducing our stress or creating a better situation or environment for us to do other things that we want to do that usually we are impeded or kept from doing. but somehow it's operating in ways that we still trying to learn,
Right.
want to learn more about in the current study we're doing, is what are those cultural, psychosocial factors that also can explain some of the improvements we're seeing.
Yeah.
Because I think that goes back to that social and cultural determinants we were
Absolutely.
talking about.
You know, I think about in our halau, where I dance with halau, Kuali'i kumakani with Manu Boyd, but we're all women, and we're a mommy halau. You know, so we have lots of professionals, lots of mommies, and so there's times where we have to take a break from hula, right? Because we're having a baby, and you know, or I was writing a dissertation, you know, and so there's times where you know you might not be at hula for 6 to 9 months for whatever reason, and we really feel it. You know, you don't feel as good, you don't feel as happy, and so when we come back to hula, all of our hula sisters, whoever's coming back, will always say something like, "Oh, it's so good to be back. I feel so much better. I can sleep better. I'm happier. It's my medicine." You know, and so it really is our medicine.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
I love the way you put that. Yeah, see?
Yours is a good example.
And what I think has been so powerful is so much of what we're finding or being able to express in the scientific language is what our kumuhula told us when we did our initial interviews about how it's the connection between the dancers and how that's created by the kumu, by the halau environment, and also by the dancing itself that creates this bond. And they know that, especially as us dancers get older, that sometimes we come for hula, but sometimes we just come for the social aspect.
Absolutely, and that's huge. Yeah, as you're saying, I can't tell you the data behind it, but I know that I am less.
We also have data to back up our
Thank you. That we all feel
experiences.
much more sane when we're in that social and that support network.
Right.
That's so critical,
Right.
especially
Yeah.
in this crazy world we live in.
So I think what we are hoping for by getting to the underlying mechanisms, that we will be able to really be able to apply that to other things, cultural practices, or looking for
Right.
other ways that are natural strengths that we
Yes.
can bring it into the program to make sure it happens, to make sure the effects can be also transferred to other maybe disease factors or
Absolutely.
risk factors.
Us Hawaiians, we don't like jogging too much.
No.
Too much
No,
jogging.
By yourself.
But we get a lot of paddlers, surfers,
Yeah.
a lot of dancers. So we have to look, like Mele was saying, more natural ways that
Right.
people can enjoy their activities.
Yeah.
And even
culturally
farming
grounded.
and eating our
Yes.
own food,
Yeah,
you know,
eating healthy, yeah.
is part of that.
Yeah.
I know with my background in clinical psychology, I have a focus on recovery from intergenerational trauma. And part of what all of you are saying is that when we know our own solutions and when we have that inner confidence that through our own belief systems and cultural practices, we are able to improve our lives, the anxiety level goes down. Because we're not out there looking for some way, you know, that we feel we don't know or that we're lost.
Or fighting against the mainstream.
We feel that, you know, it's part of our identity to be
Yeah.
able to understand where we're going and how to get there and to teach and help the keiki and the next generations to reach those goals too.
Absolutely. Mele, I wanted to ask, there was one more slide here with some farms included.
Oh, yes.
And I wanted to ask if you wanted to talk a little bit about this.
So that was another initiative just like Nalani raised is one of the Ulu Network programs was combining diabetes self-management with returning to Aina.
Okay.
And several community organizations across the state were interested and became involved. And we found that there's this success, exactly how Nalani expressed it, is that when they connected the gardening and that activity and that reconnection to their cultural roots with the diabetes self-management, it really seemed to make the education part stick. If it was self-efficacy or it was that cultural connection that made it happen, but it was also very popular because diabetes self-management can be a lot of scolding. Can't do this, can't do that.
Right.
But then we bring in the positive, and the group activity of gardening together, communal gardening. It was very well received, and I think the photos in the slide was from Hui Malama na Oiwi on Hawaii Island, who had continued, I think now it's in their 7th year of having this approach to diabetes self-management.
Awesome.
It's really beautiful to see how our culture provides a life source for us and an identity and a recovery process. And I know Aipono is one of those timeless kinds of projects that came about where people were identifying the resources in their own community, learning what was growing in each ahupua'a, what we have and what we don't have, and whatever's missing, building the practitioners in those areas, and then bringing together everything that nourishes us from our own aina, and making sure that the cultural practitioners in the next generations understand, where the limu grows, or where to replant, or where the areas are that have always been kept by our kupuna, so that that isn't lost also. And then we just realized that part of our survival and our self-sufficiency and self-sustainability is based upon our own food, our own belief systems, our own aloha, that when we carry aloha, we carry that positive energy that creates a light in ourselves, in our communities and families, and in society. So there's a lot of wisdom that comes from our cultures, and we really want to honor all of you for the work that you're doing and for bringing in, people from many different areas of research and science and medicine and culture together, so that it creates this kind of synergy that gives us hope and gives us a path to follow. So mahalo so much for everything that you're doing.
Absolutely. I know, I really agree. I was thinking about two things before I ask you folks a question. When we initially sat down to talk about this show and what we would put on the show, my field is education, right? So especially education administration. And I left thinking, the Department of Native Hawaiian Health is such an amazing model for the university. We should have a Department of Native Hawaiian Education in the university and a Department of Native Hawaiian this and that, because exactly what Nalani is saying about, there's really beautiful, seamless partnerships between the departments is just such a great model. It's a great model for making ourselves a Hawaiian place of learning, but it's also a great model for how we really do the work we're supposed to be doing as a land-grant institution, an institution that's a state university. So the model itself and the work you folks do is just really exceptional.
And it's easy to do when you have great support from JAPSA, from our Dean Doris Hedges. Our campus really is becoming a place of Hawaiian learning, a place just of being Hawaiian.
We see that.
Yeah, we have a mala there. Right now, Miliana Meyer's mural, Aloha Aina mural, is up there for exhibit, but also to begin a dialogue around these social, cultural issues that affect our health and well-being. So, we got to mahalo our school, JAMSON, for that incredible support and having the vision to create our department, 13 years ago under former Dean Ed Cadman. It continues now even stronger under Dean Doris Hedges. And we've been able to, as Millie talked about, and Winnie, grow tremendously, but because we have excellent partnerships in the community and colleagues across the university. In fact, and mahalo to Kuali'i Council for all the support. I think many of what we do wouldn't have been possible without support from Kuali'i and the positions and other things, resources that have come in to allow us to do what we do, so it benefits many, many more.
Right, I think that the way you're talking about partnerships is the same way Kuali'i Council works, right? Is how do folks partner with, this central mission of, rising the status of Native Hawaiians in the academy so that they can, be the successful people they want to be. That kind of partnership, that kind of ohana style, really.
Leveraging resources.
Absolutely, it's been really, really important. And I think about all the lives folks have touched that have been through your programs. Like my physician, my OB, Dr. Lealoha, right? She went through Imiho'ola years and years ago. But I remember, she was there for the birth of my children, saw me through pregnancies. But I really wanted somebody that I felt comfortable with, someone who understood, when I wanted to take care of the ieve of the baby, right? And, someone who was totally on board and understanding the protocols, and someone who connected well with my family. But I know there are countless people who have gone through your programs that touch us in so many amazing ways now, and will continue to touch us, will, I think, shape my children, and all of your children. So it's just amazing, amazing work that you folks are doing. So mahalo. And I think as we think about, and celebrate the work that you folks are doing and other folks are doing on your teams, I'd like to ask each of you two questions, like a two-part question. And since you've been doing this work for a while, right, a teeny tiny time to reflect, maybe. The first question then would be, what's one lesson you've learned in the, the work that you kind of lead in? What's one lesson you've learned in that work? Whether it's working in the university, or the way you're working in health, or whatever you want, one lesson. And then the other question is, what's one goal you have in your area as you move ahead? As we think about how we can continue to partner, how we continue to leverage resources. What's one goal you have for your area that you lead? So if you want to start, Kiave.
Oh, okay. Well, I think, one thing, Aoia pauka ike ka halau ho'okahi would be the traditional olelo no'el that I think I would use to explain what I think the strengths are in an academic program or department such as ours. And that really is understanding that the solutions won't come from one discipline, one person, one approach. It really is going to be a kako effort. We need to work together. And I think, we know this, in our partnerships and what we've been able to do couldn't have been done without other units within the university as well as other communities. So I really value that, and I really think traditionally in what, this Western academic approach, traditionally, it's like very competitive. This is my idea, this is my work, I'm not going to share this, my promotion depends on this. But, we take a different approach, that we can all help each other, right? Where do I see it going? I'm the chair of the department, so I can't speak for any one area. I have to speak to all areas, and it really is to continue to grow. I mean, with research, we need to build our own, build more, not just for our department, but go elsewhere in other areas within the university and elsewhere, so that we begin to address our issues on our own terms. For medical education, we need to develop more of our professionals, whether it's physicians, nurses, social workers, psychologists who are providing great service, but in a way that is meaningful and sensitive to our people. And continue to learn how we can transform medicine, not just for Native Hawaiians, because I think if we can address that, we can improve the health of Native Hawaiians, we have the solution for all, right? And I think we can be leaders, not just in Native Hawaiian health in that area, but across the board in medicine and healthcare. Because I think now what we're seeing is a return to things that our ancestors already knew about health. Everything affects everything else, the social, the physical, the mental, the spiritual. And then with, Mele, as in her shop, is to continue to grow our network, but strengthen that network, and really learn how to leverage more those partnerships so that everyone can improve what they're doing and so forth.
Yeah, I was just thinking as you were talking about, this idea of, more connections, right? More ways of thinking about health and ancestral knowledge, our ike kupuna. And I think about Olelo Hawaii, and the really important role this next generation of speakers is going to play in understanding health, because they can then, tap into the million pages of resources in our newspapers that probably has so much ike about health, right, for example. And so I think about even how, I used to be an academic advisor for Hawaiian language, and I would tell my students, I had students who wanted to major in Hawaiian language but wanted to become doctors, and they're like, I don't know if it's going to work, or their parents even would be, I'm so nervous because my child wants to be a medical physician, but he wants to do Hawaiian language, and that doesn't make sense to me. And I said, oh no, absolutely it makes sense. Let me help you make the connections here about how important it will be.
Well, I entered college just to learn Hawaiian language at KCC many years ago.
Absolutely.
And I ended up becoming a psychologist.
Yeah.
So you never know the path. In fact, I think it was Hawaiian language that got me interested in even being in this environment at the university, and giving me the social support network and the strength and the identity strength, strengthening to continue to do what you got to do to reach your goals.
Right.
So,
but I think that's what's exciting about the message I hear you folks saying is, like, especially about this idea of our Hawaiian knowledge systems, right, and our Hawaiian practices, that, like, those are completely central to health and medicine, that I think sometimes a lot of our young kids don't think, or even their parents, right, because we didn't grow up in that generation where that was valued. And so I think it's an exciting message for people watching, is to think, oh, I like to paddle. Maybe I have a future in research, right? Or maybe I can use that to, shape my understanding of medicine. Or hula. I did always want to be a medical doctor, so maybe I'll go back.
Never too late.
That's right.
Still young enough.
That's right. I'll tell my husband one more degree.
One more degree.
But so I really appreciate that message. But I'll turn it over to you.
I think over the time that I've actually been with the department, I've really, one of the greatest lessons I've learned is being able to acknowledge the past, our ancestors, my own genealogy, and to know that that gives me strength going forward. And it's the same for our students, you know, being able for them to acknowledge their own strengths and to know that they can be successful, but they don't have to discount who they are as a Native Hawaiian, but instead use those strengths that we have to help further themselves. So I think that's one of the greatest lessons that I've learned and what I try to pass on to my students. In terms of goals, I think one of my biggest goals is to ensure that the medical school, that JABSM continues to become more diverse, and that each class in the medical school, there are 4 of them, should be representative of the demographics of our state. So we should have 26% of Native Hawaiians in each entering class of the medical school. So that's really one of the goals that I have.
Absolutely.
So I think that by community engagement and also listening to what Winnie was saying is relationships. And I think that is a natural strength in Native Hawaiian culture, kahiakahi. And in our unique professional lives, that we're going to be here. We made a commitment to Native Hawaiians. We're going to be here forever, for our whole lives.
Absolutely.
Our professional career it's all tied together. So the relationships I had early on when I met 35 years ago, met Nalani's uncle, Kekuni Blaisdell, when I was an undergraduate, and really didn't realize that for the rest of my professional career, he would be, you know, an inspiration, a mentor to me, as well as the communities that we work with across the state. So many are overlapping relationships between families or past jobs or past experiences or past research efforts or programs. But they all come together again and again and again. And I think that's what strengthens us. And that's what makes us unique and makes us able to move faster than other areas, both in science as well as in academics. I think for a goal for myself is to see, or try to seed, because I don't want to do it anymore myself, is to see this idea of returning to land and how that idea can be leveraged as a cultural practice to other health objectives or health solutions. I've been trying to entice our young grad students to look into that because it's been people across the U.S. and actually more in Europe are looking at this whole connection of environment and health, but they don't have an indigenous lens when they look at it. They don't really see that kind of deep cultural relationship. So I think there's a whole level of power that can be brought to it. So I have to find the right student to do it.
Exactly.
Awesome. There's so
really
many.
watching this program.
I was going to say, there's so many that are coming up
Yeah.
that with just amazing skill sets. I want to ask one teeny tiny last question. For young people who are watching this right now, maybe elementary, middle, high school kids, what do you tell them if they're interested in medicine or health-related fields?
So I would tell them just continue on that, reach that goal. Seek out assistance, help, kokua, however you can. Take advantage of every opportunity. And I ask the families, more importantly, of these young kids. They ain't gonna need their guidance and help. And many of our parents, they may not understand what they may need to do that, but if they could reach out and seek out support and guidance on how to do that from school counselors, others. I mean, it's very important. The family nurturing that desire is very important. And when like Mele was saying earlier, we're not seeing the numbers that we would expect to see, we would like to see applying to our medical school or who are ready to apply.
Right.
But it really goes back to a very young age, and we got to look at strengthening our public school systems because the majority of our Hawaiians are educated in public schools. And we need to strengthen that so that they're better prepared and that we nurture the idea of going to college, seeking a higher degree. So I think a number of things I would say that not just to the children, but to the families of the children and to people who makes decisions about where resources are allocated for education.
Mahalo. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, we want to make sure that the contact information is up so that people can get in touch with you who are interested. And also, I just had tears because of thinking about Uncle Kekune. I want to thank you as part of the Ohana for the beautiful ho'olava that all of you gave to him. And of course, he's a true believer in the consciously communicating universe, which he now is a complete infinite part of. And I think that's part of our health and healing process, is that our culture is so focused on our spirit. And as George Helms said, you know, the protection even of our aina is in the spirit of the people. So part of our recovery process and our healing process is to make sure that the spirit of our people is alive and that we are nourishing that in ourselves as well. So mahalo for all that you are and do and all that you've given us today. Continue your great work, and I'm sure that people are going to be attracted, just as you were to Uncle Kekuni. You'll have people attracted to you as mentors, and it'll just continue in that progression where we can help each other move into the future.
Absolutely.
Aloha.
Yeah. Mahalo nui.